He is one of those players you pay the money for. It might be a little bit over the asking price, but I genuinely do not think City regret this deal in 5 years' time. Welcome back to the City Ramble, leading the conversation in the world of Manchester City. If you are new around here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We will be pushing out the content throughout the summer transfer window, throughout the Club World Cup, and obviously in the build-up to the 2025-26 season. Pep Guardiola's 10th in charge of the Blues. If you haven't as well, make sure to get in the Discord. Link is in the description. A great server, plenty of Blues chatting all things City, and plenty of things non-City as well. Okay then, Tino Livramento. Let's chat about Manchester City's leading right-back target. According to some reports, City's #1 right-back target. He's obviously a player for Newcastle United. He's been there a couple of years. He came through the Chelsea Academy. I think he had a loan at Southampton for a season or two. Maybe Southampton even bought him. Yeah, I'm just looking now. Southampton bought him a couple of seasons with Southampton, and he's been at Newcastle since 2023. I want to start with the important part. City need a right back. Let's be honest. Look, I personally love Rico Lewis. Did a video on TikTok and Instagram a couple of weeks ago now saying that I do not feel like City fans have given Rico Lewis enough credit, enough leeway. He's still young. He's a versatile player. He can do, a couple of different positions. But let's be honest, is he going to be a league-winning right back for City? Absolutely not. Same goes with Matheus Nunes. Another player who is definitely not a right back. He has done really well since he stepped into that position, in my opinion. I think I put him either second or third as my player of the season for City, just because of the sort of the impact he made when he wasn't necessarily expected to do one. But again, can you envisage City going a full season, Matheus Nunes playing 30-odd league games and City winning the league? Maybe you can, but personally, I don't think that is going to be happening. So I think City need a right-back, and I would say, this might sound wild, and please don't switch off as soon as you hear me say this, but I think you go Gvardiol level of investment on Tino Livramento, because I really do. I think you pay over the asking price because he ticks so many boxes, which I guess is now my time to try and persuade you that that is the case. I think let's address the concerns first with this player, because I put a tweet out, I think it was over the weekend perhaps, saying, the fact that City should really be investing big money in this player, even if it is going to be a little bit over asking price. And one of the main concerns that came back was his goals and assists, his output in terms of an attacking sort of aspects of his game. Now, this actually surprised me a little bit, not in a good way, but he's only got 1 goal and 2 assists in 80 matches for Newcastle, which, let's face it, isn't a lot. But was Kyle Walker a goals and assist merchant down that right-hand side? No, he wasn't. Neither at City, neither at Spurs before he joined the club. He was always, he was up and down that right-hand side, but he wasn't necessarily, he didn't have that end product that you'd maybe associate, talking about this transfer window, with Jeremy Frimpong, for example. But Frimpong is a wing-back. Tino Livramento and Kyle Walker, who went before him, were right-backs, full-backs, traditional full-backs in that sense. And even still, if you go back to when Livramento was playing in the academy for Chelsea, this would have been, he must have only been about 17, 18 at this point. But in 30 matches for Chelsea's under-21s, he got 3 goals and 8 assists, which averages out at a goal and assist every 3 games. So I think when you play him against, in that example, he would have the level would have been a little bit closer. And I'm not saying, he isn't Premier League ready now. I'll get onto that in a minute. I think he absolutely is, but he's still only 22. I think it is 22 years old. He's got plenty of room to grow into, and I don't think he's ever going to be 15 goals and assists fullback per season. But there's room for improvement there, especially when you're playing with better players, is another point that's worth mentioning as well. If you put Tino Livramento in a game with Erling Haaland, I'm sure his goals and assists will certainly go up. So I wouldn't worry too much about the G&A, because especially when you've got Ryan Aït-Nouri coming in on the left-hand side, he is much more of a goals and assists fullback. He's much more of a wing-back, if we're being totally honest. And I think we have seen, even with Gvardiol over the last sort of year, 2 years, 2 seasons, City's build-up in terms of which side of the defence has more of the attacking leeway, is certainly down that left-hand side. Again, we saw it with Nico O'Reilly when Gvardiol came into centre-half. Nico O'Reilly was the one who was more often than not sort of playing in that advanced role, given the freedom to really go at it. I don't think Tino Livramento is ever going to be a massive goals and assists fullback, but I don't think he needs to be, because his charm, if you like, his qualities are his on the ball stuff. And if you just pull up his FB ref statistics now, you can see there, compared to fullbacks in the top 5 leagues in Europe, the Greens are mainly coming in terms of passes. If you watch videos of this guy play, he is almost like a midfielder playing fullback, basically, because his passing ability is incredible. And I think, when you look at how City's squad might be shaping up, on that right-hand side, you're probably going to have more of a direct winger, aren't you? You're either going to have Savinho, you might have Doku, you might even have Ryan Cherki, who will want the ball feeding into them, or, if not, into space. And he certainly has that ability. Progressive passes, 5 per 90. We're speaking about City taking advantage of space when they get it. Were City too conservative last season? Were they not trying to feed Erling Haaland in behind as much as possible? I think those are criticisms that have certainly popped up. So I think he does, you look at, obviously, the top part there, it's red when it comes to goals and assists, but I just don't feel like that really matters. And like I said, 22, doesn't turn 23 until November. So with a bit of luck, that's the best part of a decade locked up at right back, if you can get Tino Livramento, and we'll speak money at the end of this video. Like I said, great passer, links up with his teammates really well. If you look at clips again, he is comfortable stepping into that position in midfield, and I would say Aït-Nouri is as well. But if you can have for a fullback who, go back to 22, 23, before we saw John Stones doing the role himself from the centre of defence, it was Rico Lewis who was the original inverter, if you like. Even possibly before that, João Cancelo, when he was playing before he got ditched. So Pep always liked that player to step in, add a bit more cover next to Rodri, and I do think Tino Livramento would be able to do that. He's, like I said, he's young, he's impressionable, he'd be able to coach. I think Guardiola would absolutely love to coach him. And when you look at his defensive numbers, don't get me wrong, they're not top 1 percentile in world football, but certainly they're up there. They're decent enough, averaging close to two tackles per 90, clearances 3.5 per game, over a block a game as well. That is a great base for me in terms of getting a player in, getting a right back in who has got that potential. I think those are fantastic numbers, underlying numbers to work with. The issue I think a lot of people will have, I don't think there's many people who, when Tino Livramento's name was mentioned, I don't think there was many people who were turned off by it, who didn't think he's, maybe I'm wrong, maybe the comment section will tell me that he isn't City quality at all, but I think a lot of people recognise that this is a great young fullback who has the potential to become one of the best in the Premier League, possibly even England's best. That's a real stacked position for England, with the likes of Reece James. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold in there as well. But I don't think it is beyond the realms in the next 5-6 years he's England's starting right back. But the price tag, because Newcastle have already said they don't want to sell. Understandable, they got Champions League football. How different, by the way, would this have been had Aston Villa beat United on the final game of the season and Aston Villa had finished 5th and Newcastle had missed out on Champions League football? Maybe then we're getting a bit of a cutthroat deal. But in terms of what would he be worth in this modern market, I think most people would say maybe 40 million quid, 45 million quid. That's kind of, what was it? Aït-Nouri was 33, something like that, around that ballpark. And maybe I get called mad for this. I don't know. But genuinely, I said I'd pay Gvardiol money. I think you go upwards of 70. I think you go towards 80 million quid for him. And please, if you think I'm going absolutely crazy, let me know. But just the boxes he ticks. We haven't spoke about the fact that he's English. Well, we spoke about the fact that he is English in terms of the English national team, but City's homegrown quota is a bit of an issue when you're looking at who's going to be coming, who's going to be going. You probably, Grealish is out the door already. Kyle Walker's out the door already. There's 2 English players. Might be looking at losing one of John Stones or Nathan Ake. Either of those are English as well. So Scott Carson has already gone, although Bettinelli, who's coming in as the third choice goalkeeper, I think he boosts that quota a little bit. So City are probably going to have a homegrown option somewhere in this transfer window that comes in. I think, when you look at the boxes that are being ticked, I think he is maybe not worth that money, but I don't know if, like I said, 5-6 years, City are necessarily regretting paying that money. And he's, they're dealing with a Premier League club. There's a premium for starters. You've got the English premium. You've got the potential premium. So you are going to have to go over the odds. And I'll finish on this because we saw, didn't we, at the start of the summer transfer window, the brief that City have walked away from the Florian Wirtz deal because they didn't see it value for money. And I think a lot of people at the time going, yeah, right. Basically, City have been told that he wants to go to Liverpool and, they've been rejected, whatever, and weren't necessarily believing that brief. But I think as the summer has gone on, we've seen 3 players signed for 115 million quid, which is incredible business, cheaper than just one player in Florian Wirtz would have cost. But if I said to you, as a City supporter, at the end of this window, you could have, bear with me, Ryan Cherki, Tijani Reinders, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Tino Livramento, and a potential goalkeeper. That is sort of TBC to see where we are with Ederson, whether he wants to push for a move away or whether he stays. Let's, for argument's sake, chuck a goalkeeper in there. Maybe it's Diogo Costa. Maybe it's James Trafford. I don't know. That's for another video. That's for another day. But if you can have those 5 players that are coming in, just on transfer spend alone for under 240 million quid, would you say that's good business? Reinders, Cherki, Aït-Nouri, Livramento, potential goalkeeper. I think most people say, yeah, absolutely. The issue there is that with Tino Livramento, he's making up most of that cost on his own. But I think it's better to frame it in the sense of City have paid this much for these players as opposed to City have paid this much for one player. Because we saw Julian Alvarez come in for, 16 million quid. We've seen Jack Grealish come in for 100 million quid. Valuations are dependent on where you're buying from. The selling club, a player is only worth as much as they are to the selling club. And that's kind of where City have to deal with. So I think the money that City have saved from not buying Florian Wirtz, having reinvested it in different parts of their squad, it opens the door for Tino Livramento. And like I said, I just think this is one of those where you pay the money. I think you swallow your pride, you accept that the right-back market isn't necessarily that stacked. You need an English talent, you need an English player probably to come into the squad. He's got the potential, I haven't even mentioned he can also, if you wanted to, play on the left-hand side of defence as well. He's got that versatility. He's got those years to grow into. He's incredibly coachable. His on-the-ball ability is great. The boxes are just ticking. I'm getting my pen and I'm ticking the boxes as I go down. The price tag is the price tag. But again, if you can pay 240 million quid and you can bring in 5 players who are going to be, straight into that first team, I don't see an issue, guys. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. Hit subscribe, hit the like button as well. Plenty of content throughout the summer and into the new season on the City Ramble YouTube. You can get to us on all of these social media sites as well. Make sure to do that. And until next time, it has been a pleasure. You've been watching the City Ramble and we will see you later.